So my journey through Middle Earth continues. I finally got to watch Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers Extended Edition. I was super excited to get into this film because I really enjoyed Fellowship of the Ring Extended Edition. I had a great time with that film, the whimsical nature of it, and all the characters. But going into this film and watching it, I had a mixed bag feeling with it because I watched it for like a full section of the film and then I experienced it, which is very different feelings. I'm going to explain what that means right now. Let's attack it. So for the first hour and 22 minutes, I know exactly when the difference between I was watching it, experiencing it happening. Felt like I was just watching the film, understanding I'm watching a movie, not fully immersed in everything that's happening, and kind of looking at my watch a little bit because the journey just felt so long and there's certain different aspects why I felt like I was understanding what was going on at the same time instead of just being in the world and enjoying what was going on. So the recap really threw me off. I didn't think we were going to recap for the ending of the first movie. Obviously it was a justice to show what happened with Gandalf and that he didn't die and everything like that, and I wish they would have kept that later in the film as a surprise, but overall that wasn't terrible, but it threw me off. I don't really expect like recaps in films, but I understand in real time if you watched Fellowship of the Ring, and then I'm not sure the time gap between Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers, if it was a year or more, I could see them going like, okay, remember this is what happened, because a lot of people may have not rewatched the film a bunch of times up until that point. Back then there was not a lot of streaming services, so people weren't doing it as much. And then after the recap, I think the journey that they were going on, this world building and a lot of the part of the worlds that doesn't have anything to do with the major of the like parts of the plot, especially like when Frodo fell into that water and almost got took by that spirit demon. I thought that was going to be something that ties into the overall plot, and maybe it does in the third film, but in this film, just watching this movie, it didn't really give me anything. And I think part of that is me not being a reader of Tolkien. I haven't read any of the books, so I have no investment in the world, the characters beforehand, so I'm just taking it as it is. In the first film, I really liked the chemistry between all the characters and their different personalities and how they bounced off each other, struggled with each other, and then really championed each other. And I really enjoyed Frodo and his naivete and how youthful he felt in that film, and he was like a real like hero that didn't know how to fight, but he was on the journey anyway, being courageous. Really like all those characteristics, and also obviously Samwise being his best bud, and one of the best buds I've ever seen in any film, in the first one and in this one. But their journey together just by themselves was kind of boring. I don't think they are very interesting characters. They're kind of one note and it kept kind of repeating for that first hour and 22 minutes. And luckily the film doesn't just stick on them the whole time. It cuts between, because this film is cutting between the different groups that are separated and trying to bring them back together slowly and leading into this war at the end. But it just was really a bit of a drag for that first hour 22 minutes, just watching these guys walk and talk about nothing. About nothing important. It was really killing the momentum for me, and I was just like, every time they were on the screen, and then there was no Smeagol yet. At this point, there was no interaction with the Death Riders. I'm not sure the exact name of those Reaper kind of characters that was chasing them for the ring, everything. And then the character change from the first movie for Frodo to this one, I feel like it was so sudden. It doesn't feel like it was pushed naturally, so that also kind of threw me off a bit. And with this being a middle movie, there's a lot of preparation. This feels like an episode of a TV show where all the characters were together, something big happened, they get separated, and now they're all preparing to go against the big bad, and they're all in different places, and it's going to slowly come back together. Aragorn and Legolas being together and what they're doing with this fallen kingdom and everything like that, I found kind of slightly interesting. But the fact that this kingdom wasn't really mentioned in the first film, and it kind of just threw them in here with not a lot of backstory, I wasn't fully invested into the kingdom right away. There's certain characters that really piqued my interest by actors that I was like, oh, I know that person, so that was really cool to see. But since these two characters don't have a lot of characterization, I'm seeing that as like a big issue for me for this film specifically, is like they don't have a lot of characterization. I don't really know what they are as people. They're just kind of like these stoic figures that are trying to go on their mission. It was hard for me to invest in every single aspect that was going on. And then there was kind of some of the unexplained stuff, like Gandalf becoming Gandalf the White and just coming back out of nowhere. I don't know how he came back. Maybe that's something that I explained later, why he changed it to Gandalf the White and everything like that. And I was glad to see him back because I like the character. He's one of the more fleshed out characters that I enjoy in this story so far. But there were certain things like that were happening. I was like, okay, like the king being decayed, and I guess he was being poisoned by this random guy that they introduced here. I don't really remember him in the first movie. It was just a lot of things being introduced in the film that didn't get hinted at all in the first film, and you would think it would be because that movie was very long, because I watched the extended edition, and then this extended edition introduced all these new characters, and I just wasn't fully invested in every single thing. And I think that's a theme, saying that when the watching experience, I wasn't fully invested in all the aspects of the film for that first hour and 30 minutes of the movie, because it just felt like things were happening that wasn't fully explained, or like was real quick and let's go. And then the ends. Didn't really enjoy those aspects at all in this film. They look really cool. I think the VFX were spectacular. I think the voice acting was spectacular. I think there's aspects that I did like of the ends, but overall it felt very repetitive, felt very slow. It felt like it stopped the momentum of the film a lot. And even though them attacking at the end of the film and joining the war and attacking one of the two towers was cool, I think visually it wasn't the best looking thing that the movie has done so far. So that also kind of took me out of it a bit, because the VFX in this film are phenomenal overall and really hold up compared to like a lot of films these days. Now let's talk about how I experienced this movie, watching versus experiencing. As you can see, when I'm watching the film, I'm picking apart different parts of the film. I'm not fully invested in everything that's going on. After the hour and 22 minute mark is when that switch happened, and I think that's because of Gollum / Smeagol. That is the character and the linchpin for this movie. For me, if he wasn't in the film, I think this would be like a film that would be rated a little lower, and it probably wouldn't have been so high for me in general, because first of all, the VFX on that character is phenomenal. I can't believe how good it still looks to this day.
To this day.
And I really enjoyed that character. And because of it being a mirroring of Frodo's journey, Smeagol used to be a hobbit, and now that ring and his obsession with the ring turned him in the way. And just the way Andy Serkis plays the character, and you feel disgusted by him, you feel sorry for him, and you're just always invested in like, what's this thing gonna do next? Because it had so many voices in his head, and it was literally trying to do the right thing while also being pushed to do the wrong thing. And I thought that was very, very compelling. And one thing versus Smeagol versus the rest of the characters, if you take Smeagol out of this film, I can kind of imagine what he was doing when the plot wasn't going on. When the other characters, I feel like I don't know what they would be doing, so they didn't feel like full characters, they felt like chess pieces. So yeah, Smeagol really got me invested in it, especially since he was mirroring Frodo's journey. We're seeing how Smeagol was before he turned into Gollum, while watching Frodo go down this dark path, and that's when that became really interesting to me, to see that mirror and him kind of follow Frodo around, and Frodo trying to help him, and him feeling betrayed when he got captured by that other kingdom. And that whole dynamic, him and Samwise going back and forth, is like when your best friend gets another friend and you don't like him, so you're just being argumentative with them, trying to get him away. It's like, this guy sucks, why are you friends with him?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So those two characters that from this new kingdom that I wasn't fully invested in really got me into the story, and that was Eowyn, played by Miranda Otto, and Eorman, played by the great Karl Urban. I was shocked to see him. He did so many medieval things. He was also in Hercules as well, and I really enjoyed both those characters. Karl Urban just has a striking appearance when he shows up on screen. As soon as he came up, I was like, oh, I like this character. And he was just this layered badass that didn't get that much screen time, but really shined every single time he was on screen. And he really saw what was happening to his kingdom and was trying to find a way to stop it. And his interactions with Legolas and everybody else was really great. And for him to come towards the end with Gandalf, that was phenomenal. That whole scene was amazing. And Eowyn, I've seen this actress in tons of things when she was older, and now seeing her younger and her basically having the same face, and her kind of being this like position as a damsel in distress, but not being a damsel in distress, being very capable and keep wanting to be capable, but not realizing her role needs to be to help all these helpless people that are actually in distress. I think that was really clever writing. I'm not sure, I heard things that she's not adapted well from the books, but since I never read them, I have no comparison. Just from this movie, I really enjoyed what they did with her character. Her fawning over Aragorn wasn't the best part of the film, you know, because obviously we saw that he's into this elf girl and that's who he's into, and that whole scene didn't really do it for me either. But just everything that was about her trying to help and be on the battlefield and help with the fight, but also being pushed by the king and her uncle, I believe. I don't think that was her father, I think it was her uncle, to go help these helpless people, was great. And I could have watched the whole movie about that, about the kingdom. So I really enjoyed both those characters from this kingdom, and it really held it down and grounded the story for me to care about what was happening, why it was getting raided, and the safety of all these people. And yeah, the elves themselves finally coming in. I love stories where kingdoms or places are separated and they have their own thing, and they have all these stories about the other side and don't want to talk to them, and then they finally all come together to destroy a common enemy. I love stories like that. Any story that can tell different parts of a story and then bring it together at the end and tie things together is a big win for me. And that was a big win, seeing them come and help and then sacrifice themselves a little bit to protect humans, which is, they used to look down on them. It's just really good. And then you get the history, how they used to work together. All the stuff with the elves coming in was definitely dope. That struggle of like, should we just go to our place to be safe, our realm, or should we stay and help the humans? And that kind of that aspect of like the elf that was in love with Armin. Armin is a different franchise. Aragorn, being that bridge, being there, like convincing her father, like, hey, look, they're not going to stop here. They're going to come for us anyway. We need to take a stand and help the humans. So I really, really enjoyed the elves and their arrival and everything that dealt with the war. And that's the best part of this film. The actual fight was absolutely amazing. Some of the best set pieces I've seen in a film yet. It's just the pacing, the build up, the tension, the loss, and the fact that some people died. Obviously, this has been a second movie of a trilogy. I know that nobody really in the main cast, we all know who the main people are in this film, wasn't gonna die, but we got some side characters from the elves and humans to get killed. So it put some weight into the fight. And overall, the fight was just amazing, and how it flowed from piece to piece. I think Legolas sliding downstairs on a shield was a little goofy, but other than that, everything else was great, especially with the dwarf and Aragorn jumping from one part and going and fighting in the middle of all those orcs. Amazing. And I really, really love that all that whole journey that I watched, this nearly 4-hour movie, really paid off in a really fantastical way. I think Lord of the Rings Two Towers Extended Edition is still an achievement despite my mixed feelings about the totality of the film. I do think it could have been maybe an hour less. There's a lot of extra stuff in there that I didn't need in the film. It would have flowed better, a lot better for me. I really love everything that happened with Smeagol. I love the action. I love certain characters. So I really enjoyed this. I think I liked Fellowship of the Ring better. So this is a little bit lower for me in terms of ranking, but I really, really like this movie a lot, and it's something I'll really watch, but not the extended edition. I'm going to watch the theatrical cut to see the difference and see if I enjoy that version more. So with that said, I'm going to give Lord of the Rings Two Towers Extended Edition a B. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate this film? Where is it in your ranking of all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films? I'm still on my journey through Middle Earth. I'm going to be watching Return of the King Extended Edition, which is like 5 hours long. Woo! I'm going to take a Sunday morning and just watch it and just watch it all day, basically. And I'm going to give my review for that. And then I'm going to watch the theatrical cuts of the Hobbit films, because I can't do the extended cuts of those because I heard they're not as good a quality. And then I'm gonna do a ranking after I finish watching all these movies, giving you the reviews and my thoughts about each film. So definitely hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for that and hear my thoughts on my first time watches of all these films. And hit that like button if you like my review, and the notification bell so you can be notified of my other reviews, reactions, and my live streams. And you can watch more of my content